once again, thank you very much for participating in Ask Chuck webcast. Last week I did not do a webcast because we were not in session. I had an opportunity to be in Iowa and hold town meetings in eastern and southeastern Iowa and keep in touch with my constituents, and enjoyed it very much. Had big turnouts, and people were very interested in what's going on here in Washington. People gave me their opinions, and a lot of questions were asked covering the waterfront. I'll go to some of those questions that were covered now, but these come specifically from my requests that you send in questions. So from Facebook, Kimberly from Mount Ayr says, quote, "I understand the government is ready to tighten its belt on certain programs, which is good. I also understand that you," meaning me, "are in favor of suspending volunteer programs. I hope that you will study each program before you do that. Times are tough for everyone, and without these, it will be worse. Thank you." Well, Kimberly, I have not made any statement or decision to the extent that I want to cut out entirely volunteer programs. You may have gotten that idea from a bill that passed the House of Representatives that would do that in an effort to save $61 billion out of practically every program in the federal government, of which the volunteer programs is a very small part. We have not reviewed that bill yet in the Senate. We're probably going to be working off of a Senate bill, and I will not say that some programs should not be eliminated. I wouldn't say that about the volunteer program specifically either, but I do know that when it comes to cutting out programs entirely, that you see a big effort to vote not to eliminate entire programs, because everybody gangs up and says we shouldn't do that because they think another program is going to be eliminated. Now, that still doesn't say that maybe some programs should not be eliminated, but I found that the most practical way of getting budget deficits down is across the board reductions. And I would say my policy would be this: we need to preempt the 22% increases that's taken place since President Obama has come to office. We can't sustain 22% increases. We need to go back to the 2008 level of expenditure for every program and freeze at that point for 5 years, as opposed to what the president wants to do, start at the very high plateau of the 22% increases that he's instituted and freeze for 5 years. The practical effect is you just can't justify 22% increases for the last 2 years. So that's where I'm coming from. Thank you, Kimberly, for your question. I now go to Brad from Adel. He tweets, quote, "Why are we focused on cutting entitlements instead of military spending $1 trillion per year for defense?" Well, what he's saying is, Brad, that we ought to cut defense and not cut entitlements. The practical effect is that defense doesn't cost $1 trillion a year. It does cost a lot of money at $700 billion, but defense will be cut this year. And probably the sad commentary is that nothing will be done to entitlements, although every Republican, every Democrat knows that the present way that entitlements are written are not sustainable over a long period of time, and they happen to be one of the biggest reasons that we have budget deficits. So, I want to say to you that we should be tackling everything in the budget, and the President Commission has recommended doing some things to entitlements, but it's not right to say that we're going to cut entitlements, because I think the fact of the matter is, even though entitlements need to be reformed, they won't be and defense will be cut some. Thank you very much, Brad and Kimberly, for your questions. I end the webcast by telling you what's going to be done this week in the United States Senate. And we're going to be working on a patent reform bill, and we're also going to be working on a continuing resolution to continuing to fund the government so that we don't shut down government, because that would be not a wise thing to do. I hope you'll tune in next week to another webcast. I welcome your questions. Those questions that don't get answered orally, as I'm talking to you now, will be responded to through the mail. Thank you very much.